Hello, welcome to part 2 of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So basically what happened last time was the queen gave birth to a girl with hair as dark as night, lips as red as roses, and skin as white as snow, and named her Snow White. Now the queen has died, and the king has remarried to an evil queen who only cares about her beauty. And the evil queen has a mirror on the wall, and then every day the queen asks, who is the most beautiful in this kingdom or in this realm? It's depending on the question asked. And then the mirror says, you are so beautiful, most beautiful queen. But one day, when Snow White grew up, the queen asked the same question, and then to the gasp of the queen, the mirror said, no, you're not the most beautiful, that's Snow White. So the evil queen was so jealous, so mad, that she sent the royal huntsman to go assassinate Snow White. But Snow White escaped, and because the huntsman took pity on her. So the huntsman said, do not go back to the castle. You will not survive a day. So I said too many so sorry. Snow White, she goes deeper into the forest and she finds the cottage with 7 everything. And she says, maybe these people will allow me to sleep and eat if I tidy up their house. So she did that, and then she fell asleep. And then the 7 dwarfs come back, and then they see this beautiful maiden sleeping, and they leave her alone, I guess. Back at the castle, the evil queen says, hey, mirror, mirror on the wall, now who's the most beautiful person in this realm? And then know what the mirror says? Still Snow White, because she's still alive. Now the evil queen, she's like, alright. Now she's going to dress up as a seamstress, and then she goes up to Snow White and says, hey, do you want a dress? Snow White is very trusting, and she says, yes, I do. And then the queen tightens the laces around her throat, and now she's dead. No, she's not dead, so 7 dwarves come back in, and then they untie the laces, and she comes back to life. And that's basically what happened. This is a very long story. I'm tired. Let's go! That night, the queen triumphantly asked her mirror, mirror, mirror on the wall, who in this realm is the fairest of all? And again, the mirror replied with the same answer. Snow White was fairer than the queen. White with rage, the queen filled the teeth of her prettiest comb with deadly poison. The next morning, she disguised herself as a peddler and set out through the woods to the little cottage. Snow White welcomed the peddler into the cottage and admired the silver combs. The queen selected the most beautiful one and gently brushed Snow White's long black hair. The moment the comb touched her head, Snow White fell to the ground and her hair tangled around her, black as night. When the dwarfs returned home, they found Snow White on the floor. As the sad dwarfs carried Snow White to her bed, the comb fell from her hair. She opened her eyes and smiled up at them. The dwarfs rejoiced, but they were worried that the queen would try to harm Snow White again. They made Snow White promise not to open the doors for anyone but themselves. The queen returned to the mirror and gazed proudly at her reflection. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who in this realm is the fairest of all? Again, the mirror answered that Snow White was 1,000 times more fair than the queen. Shaking with fury, the queen thought for a very long time. Finally, she had an idea she was certain would not fail. The queen plucked the finest apple from the orchard and poisoned the shiniest half. She disguised herself as a poor farmer woman and set off through the woods, carrying a basket of apples on her arm. Apples for sale! The queen called out from the yard. This time, Snow White heeded the 7 dwarfs and did not open the door. Snow White spoke to the farmer from the window. Thank you, good woman, she said, but I have no need for apples today. The queen replied, these are not just any apples. She held the poisoned apple up to the window and said, these are the reddest and ripest apples in the kingdom. There is nothing to fear. I shall show you. Yeah. The queen cut the apple in half and ate the unpoisoned half herself. She offered the other half through the window to Snow White. Snow White thanked her kindly, certain that such a lively apple posed no threat. She took one bite and fell lifeless to the ground, her skin as pale as snow. The queen smiled and slipped off into the woods, filled with satisfaction. This time, when the dwarfs returned home, they could do nothing to wake Snow White. She looked as pretty and peaceful as if she were sleeping. The dwarfs wept for a very long time. Then they placed Snow White in a glass case so they could watch over her while they worked. One day, a handsome prince rode through the forest and saw Snow White sleeping. Startled, he asked the dwarfs, "Who is this beautiful lady? How has she come to be here?" The dwarfs told him about Snow White and the wicked queen, and how they could do nothing to awaken her. The prince replied, "I will take her to my castle until she awakens. Then, if she is willing, I will ask her to be my wife." He hitched the glass case to his horse, and the dwarfs accompanied him on his way to his castle. As they rode through the forest, the case jostled, and the bit of poisoned apple fell from Snow White's mouth. Her eyes fluttered open, and she smiled up at the prince. Yeah. The wedding celebration lasted for many days, and there was great rejoicing throughout the kingdom. Woohoo! There were dances and feasts, and Snow White was happier than she had ever been. While the kingdom celebrated, the evil queen crept into the forest and was never seen again. Snow White and her prince ruled the kingdom with kindness and happiness and wisdom and lived happily ever after. The end. And I hope that you like this story. I hope that you can also guess which side of the apple is poisoned. Yeah, it's the red half because that's the most unnatural color for the apple. I don't know. Doesn't make sense. Who knows? So, I hope that you liked the story. I certainly did. And then I'll see you on the next one. 雪花飘飘，北风萧萧。